We're just going to give people a couple of seconds to join us, and we'll get started in a minute or so.
By the way, Erica, I love that shirt you're wearing. No limits.
Yes, it's this year's new shirt. I feel like I had to rep my new swag today.
Yeah. Has that been a logo for a while, No Limits?
No, it's just this year's new annual theme. So we just got these shirts and launched them a couple weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, they look great.
Love the green, this color green.
Yeah. Pelotonia green.
Exactly. All right. Well, I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. I know a couple people probably jump on over the next couple minutes, but first of all, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining us today. For anybody that I might not have met, I'm Erica Walker, and I'm our philanthropy and stewardship manager at Pelotonia. So one of the things that I get to do is I get to work with our Pelotonia Legacy Society members and anybody who might be interested in leaving a planned gift to Pelotonia. I think there's a lot of different people on the call today. Some people who might just be curious about what planned giving is. Some people who are probably going through estate planning themselves and maybe considering including Pelotonia. Or there might be some people who have already included Pelotonia in their plans and they want to learn a little bit more about the Legacy Society. So our goal today is to hopefully answer any kind of questions that you came on here with. But I will also be emailing everybody afterwards one-on-one. So I'd be happy to have a conversation with anybody after the fact to answer any specific questions you have. But we're also just hoping to address common questions that people have about plan giving today and sort of demystify the process and talk about how accessible and flexible it is for people. So as we go throughout the webinar, feel free to submit any questions that you have in the Q&A function, which you should see at the top of your screen. And we're also going to be recording the session today in case you want to come back and watch it and for others to access later. And one last thing before I introduce our guest speaker today, I just wanted to share a little bit more about the Pelotonia Legacy Society. So we launched the Legacy Society at the beginning of last year, really as a way to recognize and connect all of the individuals who have included Pelotonia in their estate plans. We received a couple of gifts from individuals who had passed away and who had included us in their plans. And we didn't have any idea about the gifts until after the fact. So, we really wanted to create this as a way to just connect people, recognize them, and really make sure that we understand what your intentions are during your lifetime if this is something that you're considering. So we have about 40 Legacy Society members as of today, and we're really hoping to continue that momentum into the year ahead. And these types of gifts are just so meaningful to us and, helping to continue our mission for years to come until we do, reach our goal of ending cancer. So without further ado, I'm super excited to be joined today by John McHugh. John is, deeply involved in the Pelotonia community. He's a rider, he's a Peloton captain, he's a survivor, along with his wife, Michelle, who's also a survivor. Both of them are members of the Legacy Society. So we're super happy to have you on today, John. Professionally, he's a partner and wealth advisor at Corient here in Columbus, where he works with individuals and families on retirement planning, multi-generational wealth transfers, and thoughtful charitable giving. At the core of what he does is helping people feel confident in their plans and the future they're creating. He's a certified financial planner, a certified public accountant, and a chartered advisor in philanthropy. So once again, we're super grateful to have you here today, John, and just to kind of hear from your perspective about how to make plan giving a little bit more approachable and hear some of your insights from your real world experience. So I'll just kind of go ahead and jump into the first question that we have planned for today.
Sounds good. Let's go.
So from your perspective, what do most people misunderstand about estate planning or plan giving?
No, that's a good question. I think one of the biggest misunderstandings is that estate planning or plan giving is really for only very rich people. And that's not true at all. Um, Folks also think that you have to be dying in order to consider plan giving. And that's definitely not the ideal time to be making these critical decisions.
Yes, thank you for that. Um, you kind of touched on this, but some people assume that plan giving is expensive or complicated. So, can you talk about how true are those kind of myths or how untrue are they?
Yeah. Um, well, really, plan giving can be as easy or as complicated as you want it to be. So I say as an example, some plan giving can be accomplished with a pea shooter, while some is more complex and takes an elephant gun. So personally, my wife and I, we recently created and funded a new IRA that names Pelotonia as the primary beneficiary, and it cost me zero to establish that. Um, and naming Pelotonia as the beneficiary of your life insurance, that doesn't cost you anything either. Um, Establishing a new brokerage account and funding it with stock, and then adding Pelotonia as the transfer on death, also known as a TA or a TOD, that doesn't cost you anything either. So there's three ways to make a gift that doesn't cost you anything.
Perfect. Thank you for going through those.
Sure.
What would you say of those kind of options that you just laid out? What's one of the simplest ways that somebody could include a charity like Pelotonia in their plans without sort of overhauling everything that they might already have in place?
The items I mentioned above, like IRA or the life insurance, are the easiest and the most flexible, as you're free to make any changes at any time, right? You can increase or decrease the amount of your gift. You can even change the beneficiary if circumstances change. So flexibility is the key, and both those, the IRA and the life insurance, offer those two options.
Perfect. Yeah, I would say we have a lot of individuals who are part of the Legacy Society who have done that as, seems to be one of the simplest ways for people to set things up on their own. So
I would say
great.
start simple, right? And as you get
Yeah.
more comfortable, you can do things that are more complex.
Yep. That's a great reminder. So when you talk to people about plan giving, what kind of hesitations or fears do you hear people have most often when we talk about this topic?
Well, planning, I say, well, it can be daunting. And my experience shows that when folks don't know what to do, they do nothing. Um,
Mhm.
we call that analysis paralysis. You can't do anything. My suggestion is to start with something simple like funding an IRA, and then once you feel comfortable, consider other gifting options.
Mhm. Great. Is there ever really a right time for somebody to start thinking about plan giving? Or what would you say to somebody who might think it's too early on or too late in their lives to think about this?
Oh, those are great questions, and glad you asked. So, goals, those are really the first step to any planning discussion. You need to ask yourself, your spouse, or even your children, what are your goals? So I say, let's take a look at this hierarchy of giving. Can you pull that up for me?
Yep, just pulled it up.
Okay, great. I love the Pelotonia green colors that you put on here for me. Um, so basically, when you're talking about what your goals are, you want to figure out at the very base, do you and your spouse have enough to support your lifestyle? Okay. Once you can determine that, you can say, well, do I have enough to leave an inheritance to my children? Once you figure out if you have enough and if your kids have enough, and maybe a little extra for cushion, because we don't want to cut it too close and find out you don't have enough. Um, and then if there's anything left after that, that's the amount that you can look at for what's available to charity. So,
Mhm.
I really like the pyramid, because it lays it out pretty simply that find out what's good for you, how much is good for your kids, and then you can think about charities. Um,
I think this is a great visual representation. So I'm
yeah,
glad that you wanted to share this today.
yeah. Well, and again, if you need help determining if you have enough, you should contact, I say, a CFP professional to help you figure that out. So I
Mhm.
say, honestly, it's never too early to start, since planning can be so flexible. And generally, I'd say it's never too late to start, but sometimes life events happen that prevent you from achieving your goals. So um,
Mhm.
I like to be proactive in my planning. So I always like to start early. But again, no matter your age, you can do something, but uh, starting early is the best.
Awesome. Thank you. So, if somebody wants to include charitable giving, but doesn't really know how to bring it up with their advisor or attorney, how would you suggest that they start that conversation?
Yeah. Well, I would tell you it's not unusual that your advisor and or your attorney don't routinely bring up charitable giving with you. That's quite common. But if you are interested in finding out more about the ways to get to charities like Pelotonia, let your advisor or your attorney know you attended this webinar and that you want to learn some more. I will say that Erica and your partner, Eric, are also great, great resources too.
Yes, yes. Eric couldn't be on today. He's actually in Texas visiting some of our partners down there. But like John said, we're sort of always here to help you talk through if this is something that you're interested in, and we can help answer any questions that you have. So, once somebody does go ahead and take the step to include a charitable gift in their estate plans, how flexible is it to change that if something were to happen, in their life that changes their circumstances?
It is very easy. You can call the brokerage firm and change the IRA beneficiary. You can call the life insurance company and change the beneficiary designation. It's a fact that life changes, and that's why using flexible tools like this does make a lot of sense.
Great. Next question for you. Why is it helpful for someone to let an organization like Pelotonia know about their intentions of a gift like this?
Well, there's a couple of obvious reasons. First, it's advisable to alert Pelotonia of your generous gift so they know where and when the gift might be coming from and the ballpark amount. In my case, I alerted Pelotonia of my new IRA. It was at Schwab, provided them the account number and the initial balance. So there's no confusion when I eventually do go to that big bike corral up in the sky. Um, then, but then on the Pelotonia side of things, they need to make future plans and make decisions based upon what they might expect to receive in the future. And so it does dramatically help Pelotonia with their future planning and or any other charity to know what they might get in the future.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just add on to that too. It is really helpful for us to kind of have documentation of your gift too, so that we can ensure that, what you are planning and envisioning for that gift is how, the gift is used. So one of the things that we do is we ask folks to fill out a simple form that just tells us a little bit of information about their gift. And one of the things that we include on that form is how you'd like to, us to use that gift. So, would you want that gift to be directed towards research, cancer research? Would you want it to be, supporting Pelotonia's operational expenses in the future? Or, do you kind of leave it unrestricted for whatever the greatest need is at that time? So we want to make sure that, your intentions are met. And we also think that, being a part of the Legacy Society is a great way for people to just be connected to this other group of people who are really like-minded and want to support us in this way. So I just wanted to add that on as like another reason why, from our perspective, it's helpful, and like you said, for planning purposes too. So thank you. If somebody is considering making a gift now versus in their estate plans, how would you advise them to consider their options and ultimately make a decision about which is better for them?
Oh, that's another great question. So charities love getting planned gifts, but current gifts are always appreciated as they immediately help the charity with their mission. And the donor actually gets to see their gift at work. Though I will say not everyone has the financial capacity to make current gifts. And that's why we're talking about planned gifts today. So if someone wants to gift now, one of the most recently popular ways to gift for those over 70 and a half, so maybe we have some attendees who are over 70 and a half today, is the qualified charitable distribution. You might hear some people call it a QCD. So those with an IRA that are over 70 and a half can directly give to charity. They cannot give to a donor advised fund, but that's a whole nother topic. But in this case, the taxpayer, they don't have to pay tax on the IRA withdrawal. They also don't get a charitable tax deduction. But with the high standard deductions these days, there's a lot of folks that aren't even itemizing. They're just taking the standard deduction. And also, the QCD lowers the state of Ohio income tax that you pay because that income doesn't show up on your Ohio state income tax return. So, yeah, so QCDs, do you get many QCDs these days?
We do get some. It's definitely something that we're trying to make people a little bit more aware of that, is an option. But we do have a handful of people who will give us these types of gifts throughout the year. And I did just want to call out too, when you give us that type of gift and if you say you're still participating in Pelotonia, we're happy to direct that gift of a QCD to your ride for that year or to somebody else's ride. So we have some more information about, working with us on those types of gifts on our website. But yeah, we do get some of them, but it's definitely, I think, something a lot of people might not be aware of that is an option. So I'm glad you brought it up today.
Yeah. And just so you know, we happen to custody at Schwab, and I know they'll do a QCD, so this qualified charitable distribution from your IRA at $100 or more. So don't say, oh, it's too small of a gift to use a QCD. No, you can do it. Yeah, I mean, the paperwork is really simple to complete. And again, it's a really great way to lower some of your taxable income.
Yeah, great option. Thank you for sharing about that. Okay, well, before we kind of jump in to see if the audience has any questions, I have one more question for you. If somebody listening today just sort of remembers one thing about plan giving, what would you hope that would be?
Okay, so if you're listening today, there's a high likelihood that you're charitably inclined. So if this is something you are interested in, I say you make it a priority, and address it. I say sooner than later. I always like to get things done. I have a checklist, and it's nice to check it off my box, check that box off that I got it done. But I suggest you make an appointment with your financial advisor or your attorney and really discuss your financial goals. It all goes back to that hierarchy of giving, right? You have to figure out what your goals are. But once you figure out your goals are, use one of the easy tools that I talked about of just setting up an IRA. Again, you open up a new IRA at your brokerage firm and you say, upon my death, I want it to go to Pelotonia, and you fund it with whatever you feel comfortable with today. And, you'd let Pelotonia know. Again, if life changes, you can actually change the beneficiary of it to, back to your spouse. But if things go really well in life, you're like, oh, you know what? I actually have more money I'd like to give Pelotonia. You can always put more money into that IRA. So, again, that's what I suggest folks do.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, I think we're going to go ahead and open it up for any questions that the audience has. So, like I said before, feel free to put those into the Q&A function at the top. I think there's also a chat function, so whichever one is easier for you, feel free to put them in there.
And by the way, Erica, I love my Gravel Day mug. It's one of my favorites. So thank you.
It's truly one of my favorite mugs too. It's a great mug. Okay, let's see. So we have one question. What is a realistic first step for somebody who's interested, but maybe not ready to make a decision today?
Yeah. Well, I would say be thoughtful, right? And get advice. When I say get
Mhm.
advice, sometimes you're like, oh, does that make sense? You're talking. I mean, I do it with my wife all the time, where I say, should we do this or do that? And if we talk to, one of our friends or somebody and we get some advice and they agree, it just makes us feel so much more confident in our decision. So if you're thinking
Mhm.
about it, again, get some advice, talk to your financial advisor, talk to your attorney. They'll give you some good advice and they'll say, you know what, that sounds like a good plan, and they can actually help you implement it too. But
Mhm. That makes
again,
total sense.
it went back to that analysis paralysis part about it can be daunting. It's a big deal, and
Yeah.
but I tell you, as my wife being a breast cancer survivor, I think all the things we're doing for Pelotonia, I'm really passionate about it because we really need to find a cure to
Mhm.
eliminate those sort of things. And the sooner we can do it, the better. Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, so I guess my answer is uh, talk to an advisor. That way, you'll feel much more confident about the decision you're about to make.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great advice.
Okay.
All right, we got another question that just said, please explain how to become a member of the Pelotonia Legacy Society. So I'm happy to take that one. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have a form that we ask any of our plan gift donors to fill out. And that really allows us, to get the information about you and about your gift and to make sure that, you're comfortable with us recognizing you as part of the Legacy Society. So it's a plan gifts commitment form, and it'll be one of the things that when I follow up via email after this call, I will share that. It's just a simple kind of fillable PDF that you can fill out on your computer or print out and fill it out and send back to us. But that really kind of gives us the go ahead to that you feel comfortable being recognized. Some people wish to remain anonymous, which is totally fine as well. But we'd still love to have you as part of the Legacy Society. So I'll be sure to share that form afterwards. And I did just want to mention too, there's a couple things that we're sort of building up. Like, what are the ways that we bring the Legacy Society together and recognize all of you guys? But I did just want to share a couple of the things that we have, currently that we do for our Legacy Society members. So we do waive registration fees if you wish to participate in Pelotonia. So that's something that I communicate out with all of our members before registration launch each year about how to do that. And then we also are working on putting together a special event where we kind of bring our Legacy Society members together. And, we're hoping to do this later on this year for the first time and hope to do a tour of a lab in the Pelotonia Research Center and have some other kind of cool behind the scenes opportunities. So, I'm sort of the point person, like I mentioned before, and just I'm in regular communication with Legacy Society members about some different things that we have available and kind of going on for all of you guys. But going back to your question, how do you officially become a part of the Legacy Society? Just kind of sharing that intent with us and filling out that form is how we sort of see it, as we're going to go ahead and add you. So I'll be sure to share that after the fact with everybody.
Hey, Eric, I never asked you when was the first legacy member, I guess, made or
Yeah, so we actually received the first gift, I believe it was in 2020. It might have been 2019 was
yeah.
when we received the first estate gift. Like I mentioned before, we weren't aware that we were in this person's estate plans. But we received, an incredible gift, and that was sort of one of a few that we received over the next couple of years that we were like, we have to do something. We want to be able to recognize these people during their lifetime. So we had received a couple of gifts, but really, like I mentioned at the beginning of last year is when we formally launched the Legacy Society. and started talking about it more publicly. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, great.
Okay. Let's see. Any more questions out there? I think we have one more, and I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, John, but if somebody does include Pelotonia in their plans, how can they change or update that later on if their circumstances do change?
Yeah. So again, I use Schwab because that's where we custody at. If I wanted to change the beneficiary designation on the gift that, the IRA that I've named Pelotonia as, there's a simple form you get from them. It's called a change of beneficiary form. And you just complete it to say, I want my primary beneficiary to be X. Submit it to your brokerage firm, and it's done instantly. Same thing with the life insurance policy. Literally, there's a form. It's called change of beneficiary form, and you do that. And again, it's a very simple process that takes a day. That's it.
Perfect. Great. Well, I don't think there's any more questions. Anything, John, that you wanted to wrap up with or share that we might not have touched on, or you've shared a lot of helpful information so far.
Well, I very much do appreciate, since I am a member of the Legacy Society, I registered, and you were able to waive my registration fee. So that just means I'll be able to use that money to make a donation to somebody else. So
yes, I love that. That's great. Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, there's just a couple of things that I wanted to share. We hope that today kind of sparked, we hope that today's conversation sparked some questions or ideas for you. And if that's the case, like I said before, please reach out to me. I will be sending an email afterwards, so you have my contact information. But I'd be happy to talk to you one-on-one about, what this might look like for you, or answer any more questions that you have about the Legacy Society. We also, like I said, we have some helpful resources for people that I'll be emailing out. So we have our plan gift commitment form. We also have like a simple one-pager of our information that is sometimes helpful when people are going to, include us as a beneficiary, or maybe they're going to include us in their will. We have some sample bequest language. Our tax identification number is something that some people will ask for when you're including us as a beneficiary. So I'll be sure to share that information with you all afterwards as well. But I think just to wrap it up, I just want to say thank you once again for all of you for joining us, and to you, John, for being here. We're so grateful for your commitment to be part of the Legacy Society, and all of you for being part of the Pelotonia community. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. And thanks again.
Thanks, Erica.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.